Hey everyone. In my last video, I talked about one of the worst ports of a video game of all time, Mortal Kombat Advance for the Game Boy Advance. During that video, I also brought up Midway's affinity for pumping out these ports. You can tell how much they love doing this considering there's 8 of them on Nintendo handhelds alone. However, there is one Mortal Kombat that is a little more interesting than the others, and that one is Mortal Kombat 4. After the first 3 games used digitized versions of real-life actors, Mortal Kombat 4 was the first in the series to go 3D. MK4 also received a Game Boy port, just like the previous 3 games in the series. However, because the developers of the first 3 games were able to use digitized sprites and other elements from the 2D era, how would Mortal Kombat 4 work on a GBC? A console with that processing power obviously can't handle 3D titles, so how were the developers of the 4th game going to adapt to develop this port? Well... Round 1. Fight. Oh no, this one's gonna be worse than Mortal Kombat Advance. Once again, let's real quick look into the development of the game before we dive into the awfulness of this port. The Game Boy Color port of Mortal Kombat 4 was released on December 10th, 1998 in North America, and then sometime later in the EU the following year. After Mortal Kombat 1 and 2's Game Boy ports were developed by Probe Software, and the third's was developed by Software Creations, Mortal Kombat 4's Game Boy port would be handed over to Digital Eclipse. Digital Eclipse was founded in 1992 and still develop video games to this day. They mostly develop ports of older titles to be played on newer hardware, such as the recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. But they also have a history in making really good original titles such as the GBA Spyro games and the Death Jr. series. Unfortunately, this might be their worst game. Mortal Kombat 4's GBC port received mixed to relatively negative reviews upon release, ranging from Total Game Boy's 51% down to GameSpot's 3.5 out of 10. GameSpot's Jeff Gerstmann gave it a 3.5 out of 10 due to differences in the gameplay and unresponsive controls, while IGN's Pierre Schneider gave it a 4 out of 10 and stated how limited the gameplay was and how easy the game is. Let's dive deeper and see if any of those reasons are true. Oh boy, where do we start with this dump? I guess I'll rapid fire off the stuff that's missing from the original game. Unfortunately, you no longer get to watch Mortal Kombat Gold gameplay and instead get to watch this dumpster fire. So I'm sorry in advance. There's only 2/3 of the original roster here, with Kai, Jax, Johnny Cage, Jarek, and Sonya missing from the game completely, and Shinnok now unavailable to be selected on the character select screen. He's still the final boss of the game though. During my playthrough, I only saw 4 stages. This stage, which if I had to guess is the prison, the living forest, the Shaolin Temple, and the Elder Gods Arena. By the way, these stages look fucking horrendous. The saturation is so messed up and the colors are so bright that it doesn't even look like a Mortal Kombat game anymore. The rest of the game looks this bad too. The main screen, the character select screen, choose your destiny, which they stole from the Mortal Kombat 3 port, by the way. The character tower, the combat code entering sequence, the stages, the health bar, and even the characters themselves. Take your pick, because they all look terrible. Like, I know you had to make 2D assets based on the 3D models, but these look like a 2nd grader drew them. Especially Liu Kang. I think he looks the worst out of everyone here. Or at least that's what I thought, until I put in the code for Reptile. Round 1. Fight. What the hell? What am I looking at? Why is Reptile purple? Why did I play this game? Dude, this sprite is so bad that when I showed my dad, he thought that Quan Chi over here on the right was Reptile, and that Reptile was Rain. Anyways, moving on from the awful looking game, let's move on to the sound and the music in this game. It's also awful. There's only 3 music tracks that are genuinely so unrecognizable from the arcade and home console versions that I'm not even going to try to guess what the tracks actually are. Here's the first one. Here's the second. And here's the third. I'm so sorry for making you listen to that. Yeah, the music sounds like hot ass, and the fact that there's only 3 drowning, dulling, repeating tracks makes it even worse. Again, moving along, the amount of sound bites that are in this game are kind of shocking. Maybe they should have used that cartridge space to make the game better. But in total, we've got round announcements and fight, finish him, fatality, and the character sound bites. That would be a plus for the game in general. However, they sound like total shit, so it's not.
Round 1. Fight. Fatality.
Moving along, half of the fatalities and special moves are gone, but that's almost standard at this point for these ports, so who gives a shit. By the way, how do the fatalities look in this game?
Fatality.
What the fuck? Did they seriously not even try to code in actual fatalities? Are we serious? They, instead of actually trying to code in fatalities, took a couple of clips from the arcade and said, how long have I worked? 7 minutes? Yeah, that's good enough. Ship the game out. Not only is this one of the worst looking and sounding games I've ever played, they somehow managed to make the fatalities look worse than some of the ones from MK vs. DC Universe. That's quite an accomplishment. Not a good one, but an accomplishment. Alright, so the game looks and sounds like shit, but what about the gameplay? Yeah, no, the gameplay is abhorrent too. The difficulty in this game is so unbelievably unbalanced, it's not even funny. The way the difficulty is supposed to work is via the tower you select. So, Novice is easy, Warrior is medium, and Champion is hard. That's how it's supposed to work, right? Instead, it's, I just handed the unplugged controller to my little brother, Mortal Kombat Advance, and worse than Mortal Kombat Advance. What the hell is this? I could at least win a couple fights in MKA, but I couldn't even beat Reiku through normal means on a champion tower. Yes, I might suck at video games, but play through a champion tower and you'll see exactly what I mean. The Warrior Tower also played like this once I progressed through one fight. Tanya just went insane and ripped me a new one. By the way, you don't even get infinite continues, you only get 3, which, unless you know the total bullshit exploit strats, is not even close to enough continues. The complete opposite is the problem for the Novice Tower. I could hand this to my cat and she'd destroy this tower. The controls don't make it any better either. It feels like you're using a gameplay that's just been dunked in maple syrup for several hours. Moves don't feel fluent, and sometimes I can hammer on a button and a move will just not come out. Special moves are the absolute worst because there's so much input delay between you pressing a button and the move coming out that you're already going to be hit by the time the move is recognized by the software. And yes, the controls are significantly worse than MKA, and yes, I keep comparing the two games because I said, quote, this is the worst Mortal Kombat game in my last video, and this one will probably take the crown. Unfortunately, there's no silly ass bugs I can talk about this time, unlike Mortal Kombat Advance, which had bugs out the ass constantly. So I suppose that's a point towards Mortal Kombat 4 GBC, but the rest of the gameplay is so unbelievably terrible that doesn't matter. I was gonna try and find more reasons on why the game is ass, but I feel like I've done enough. I rest my case. This game is total cheeks, and I'd prefer not to play a second more of it. So what do I think? Dude, this game sucks out loud. I genuinely believe that I just spent an entire hour of my life, not to mention the way more than 1 hour spent on editing this video, playing the worst game I've ever played in my entire life. Try and find a redeeming thing about this game. There isn't. The graphics, the sound design, the mechanics, the controls, the difficulty, everything is an equal amount of suck here, far beyond a level of Mortal Kombat Advance. I wouldn't touch this game again with a 5,000 foot pole. If you made it to the end of this shit show, thank you so much for sticking around and watching. The support of the last video is honestly ridiculous to me. I wasn't expecting to see 100 views on that video, and you guys crushed it. Thank you so much for that. Last week I had a single subscriber, and you guys got me up to 70 off of one video alone. That's insane to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It truly helps, and it gives me motivation to push more content out in the future. And if you guys want to see more content of mine, I somewhat regularly stream on Twitch, and I post on TikTok too, so please toss me a follow over there if you would be so kind. Thank you guys so much for watching, thank you for your support, and I will see everyone in the next video. Bye!